What up, what up, what up, what up? What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Real Fans Podcast FC. Guys, we're excited. We got a big episode ahead of us. I got my boy Julian over here. That's Adam Julian. I got my boy Adam up here. You guys say what's up real quick, Adam. Repping the Florida Panthers. I like it.
Yo. What is up?
Defending champs.
Got the Georgia T-shirt on. Talking about defending champs, boys.
I know, man.
You go to the knockoff UGA.
Yeah, right. I go to the brother school of UGA, the little brothers.
Yeah, some call it like the nephew school.
Something like that. Hey, but how are you guys doing? Julian, what's going on?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Happy Halloween. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, a little early, don't you think?
No, it is a little early, but you know what? It's the season to be. Reason to be in the season. So
where's the Christmas tree? I see it behind you there too, right?
Oh gosh, yeah, it's somewhere back there.
Yeah. I do want to throw out. I picked up. Had a family member go to Brazil. Had him pick me up a decent amount of shit. So nice. I had him get me this official, authentic Flamengo jersey with the Libertadores patch.
Ooh.
3, and right here, and all the different things. No name though. But
how much was it?
That this was I don't remember the exchange. I want to say it was definitely cheaper than the United States, but I would say maybe $120, somewhere around there, for like a real authentic. And this is what, Adidas? Yeah, Adidas. So yeah, I got this Flamengo jersey. I got 2 training tops. I got a Santos, a Brazil jersey, and then what else did I get? Oh, and I got 2 Vasco da Gamas.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So you're gonna be seeing me wear those throughout the past couple episodes. I got to show those off. I love those jerseys. But yeah, let's get into it, man. Yeah. Speaking of some footy talk, we did just have the September international window. Pretty much Nations League for everybody outside of the AFC and Conembol. They both had World Cup qualifiers, which to me is still crazy how early they do World Cup qualifiers. I feel like I don't know. I guess Nations League doesn't necessarily make sense for them either, but I don't know.
Right.
Anyways, let's talk about our own region. That is the Concacaf region. And I want to start off. It's going to be a little off topic from what we have on the topic sheet. But I want to start off with the brand new news, the announcement and the showcase today of Mauricio Pochettino as the brand new head coach for the United States men's national team. And, I want to get Adam's thought on this as the resident Arsenal fan, what he thinks of Pochettino, his years at Tottenham and prior, and what he's done. This is going to be his first international job. I already kind of have a feeling what Will's going to say, because I know we briefly talked about it before in the past, but I want to get Adam's thoughts on everything and if he's going to make a difference with this USA team.
Well, I'll give you reasons to be excited if you're a USA fan. He's the best Tottenham coach of all time. I mean, come on now. You look at Tottenham and their success, not really something you say in the same sentence much. But he got them to a Champions League final. I mean, that is just absolutely insane. He's a good coach. So I think the main thing that the U.S. are going to need and really want from him is culture change. We know that they have talent. I think part of it was that he was at Tottenham, and that's tough. That's a tough gig for anybody. And then he was also at PSG. That's right? Am I right? I'm right? For some reason,
he was at
PSG. For some reason, I don't know why my brain was telling me I wasn't sure. But that's another sticky situation to be put into.
Chelsea.
Nobody can succeed at Chelsea. So, I mean, there's a lot of scenarios where it's like, yeah, they're big clubs, so he has the experience, but boy, oh boy, were those shitty situations. The U.S. is a completely different ball game, so those are your reasons to be, happy. The reasons to be scared are, the last time the U.S. hired a high-profile coach, it was Jurgen Klinsmann, and that was a flop. And if you do look at Pochettino, you could take the dim view of saying, "Oh shit, he didn't win anything at Tottenham. He didn't win anything with PSG, really. Besides the obvious shit that they would always win." And then, Chelsea was a dumpster fire. So why are we bringing him on? I think overall it's going to be positive. I'm really not sure how it's going to end up in the long run, but it's going to be cool to see what kind of changes and what kind of players he starts bringing into his squad.
Yeah, I will say that. I think the biggest thing is he's obviously going to – the thing with the Berhalter, it just felt like – and I know every USA fan feels this way – is like it just felt like these guys were just there to like have fun and get a participation trophy. And it felt like none of these guys truly had their spot on the line. And part of that is true because the depth kind of falls off quickly after the starting 11 and then a couple role players after that. So a lot of guys felt like they were pretty set in stone of this is our spot, this is what it's going to be. But I will say as the years gone on, as USA continues to make transfers overseas to bigger leagues, a lot of these guys are starting to, have their job as a USA starter really put into question because now you're bringing in a guy who has no history with you. He's never coached in the USA. He has no MLS background. Nothing. This is a guy that's coming in completely raw with a completely new vision. I would say the only person was he there with Pulisic during the Chelsea times? I want to say yes or no.
I don't think so.
Blank. I think you're right. I don't think so either.
I don't think so either.
They need someone who can really, hold people responsible and accountable. It just feels like this USA team outside of Pulisic just doesn't care. And you need a guy who's really going to go in there and be like, no, you're going to lose your job. Like, I don't care who you play for, what you did, or what your potential is. I'm going to put in somebody else if you can't get the job done. And also somebody who can actually put in tactics and understand player positioning, because I felt like Berhalter was just trying to force this certain system that just clearly wasn't working at the higher levels. And now you got a guy who knows what it's like to coach at the highest levels. And when it comes to trying to get the USA over that hump and really competing with some of the top teams in the world, you need a guy who understands certain tactics and formations that other teams are doing and what other players are doing to help mitigate some attacking sequences or being able to unlock certain defenses or whatever it might be. The USA just needs somebody who can do that. And I just felt like for a long time, and I'm sure everybody felt that way, that Berhalter couldn't provide that. I do think a lot of people are trashing on Pochettino, but look, at the end of the day, this is the most high profile coach USA has ever had. Ever. Like, yeah, you can say Klinsmann, but like not to this level. The USA has never had a coach that's coached in a Champions League final, let alone to bring Tottenham to it. And people want to criticize his time at Tottenham, but those were some of the best years that Tottenham had.
They are absolutely. They're the best years they've ever had.
And in some of those years, in other years, with the amount of points that they got, they would have won the Prem. In some of those years, I can't remember exactly which year specifically, or they at least would have gotten the top two for sure. But nonetheless, I think this is a really good hire for the USA, no matter what you say. I mean, is he the best coach in CONCACAF? Only time will tell. Obviously, by profile and on paper, he should be. But, time will tell once we actually put the pieces into action and how it works, how he meshes with the players and whatnot. But I am really curious. I will say, because the USA has a lot of young players, I can't imagine a lot of big egos, and then nobody in the USA really has a big ego in the first place, and that's probably a criticism
the players?
A lot of people have about. Yeah.
Oh God, no! They have the worst egos.
Yeah, this is what kind? Like in what sense? Like, there's no locker room drama or nothing.
What do you mean?
100% there is.
Wait. You should. Wait. Whoa. You got stuff being thrown out by player families and shit. Like, There's plenty of locker room drama.
Thank you.
All right.
Dude, there is 100%.
Yeah, all right. But I don't think there's difference between drama and like there's no like Ronaldo, there's no egos. There's no like massive, no one has an ego. No one deserves to really have one. Like, all right, did Timothy Weah have that moment in the Copa America? Yeah, he got like hot-headed, but I wouldn't say he's a difficult person to work with. Then again, we don't know. We're not in the locker room. Now, I will say the whole Gio Reyna thing, that's all weird because that's more so the parents than it is like him himself. That was more Claudio Reyna, but
hey man, I would raise them, so like, I don't. You got to think what kind of mindset did they instill on him if they're treating him like that?
All right, what kind of fucking ego can Gio Reyna deserve to have? The dude has he's been nothing but potential his entire career. He's played well at times for the USA.
So then why are his parents being so dipshits about it?
I don't think anybody has some massive ego like you would say, like, I don't know, let's throw a name out there, like fucking
Keylor Navas.
Ibrahimovic.
Yeah, Ibra or like Ronaldo or
come on, now, you guys are gonna sit there thinking about egos and you're not gonna mention Ibrahimovic
and Bob. Yeah, like none of these guys are absolute superstars. So I don't know. I don't think at the end of the day, no one is going to feel that they're at a higher level than Pochettino. I think Pochettino's going to get the respect that he deserves when he goes into the locker room. I don't think anybody feels that they're above Pochettino. Versus I felt like when Berhalter was in there, a lot of people felt above Berhalter. Like, this guy's just not good enough to coach us, which it is. It was true. He wasn't. So, but yeah, I'll push it to you, Will. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to run it real quick. Obviously, I know we got some other big things, but yeah, I kind of already talked to you, Julian, and I talked to Adam as well about it. Listen, I think this is the biggest, highest profile name that the U.S. men's national team, whether it's player or coaching pool, for the USA. So big ups to them. Big congrats. I agree with you. I think he is by paper the best choice for the U.S. men's national team and in CONCACAF in the region.
Well, you don't obviously. Would you have taken like if Klopp would have said yes? Would you have taken
Klopp was never
over
saying
that?
Yes. Though.
Yeah, I'm saying that. You're saying it's the best on paper, but I'm saying if he does say yes, would you take him?
Obviously, yeah. If he said yes, but Klopp was. You want me to be honest? That's a U.S. men's national team. That's a fatigue mindset of like, let me just reach out to the.
Well, they asked him.
Like,
but they went officially. They went to him. So you could say what you want, but they were serious.
Probably cussed him out in German and said, "Get out of here!" Like, he's not going to take that job.
He's too nice of a guy. He'd smile with his fake crowns and veneers and.
But
call it a day and say, no, thank you, no, thank you.
But the thing is, realistically, though, for the U.S. men's national team, how does this change them? And what way, shape, or form? The goal for the U.S. is still, I think, realistically, for the men's is the World Cup, the quarterfinals, bare minimum. Bare minimum. This team has made how many round of 16s? Obviously, didn't even qualify in 2018. So this is getting to the starting point where it's like, you know what? We have to make the quarterfinals. The depth, the talent, the chart. Like you were saying, obviously, Julian, they're not the most deepest team in the world. But I think what Pochettino will bring to them, and kind of like you even just hit it yourself, Julian, is they have this, they always had this lackluster mindset when it came to the international game. To be quite honest, just when it came outside of CONCACAF, when they went to Conembol, we just saw what happened in Copa America. I hate to say that. Granted, and that wasn't even to a Conembol team. That was to my team in Panama. So the truth and reality is, I think Pochettino, like you kind of said as well, he's not just going to get in the locker room and fix these guys up. I think he will bring that. But I think he's also going to make these guys more humble, more mature, because I think they have too much of an arrogant. And that's why I disagreed with you. I would say on the opposite end, Julian, is I feel like these guys, they genuinely just believe that they're the best already, that they've already done it. Obviously, I realize they're not saying that, they're the World Cup champions or anything, but they understand that they're the best team in CONCACAF on paper, and they've shown it in the past 5 to 6 years. But now that's not what it is anymore. This is getting outside of that. They're hosting a World Cup in 2 years, less than 2 years. So I think Poch is a good add-up, but it's really going to come down to the players. But I think he will help, though, in the long run.
I would say I think the players, a lot of the starters felt comfortable in their position. I don't know if they felt comfortable just in general, like playing other teams. It just seems like a lot of these players felt like for a long time, like, well, no one's going to take my spot, because there wasn't really a lot of depth. But I think as the depth starts to increase. I mean, you're having guys like Aiden Morris who played this past window, who's playing in the championship, like, just little players here and there that are constantly adding to the pool.
Yeah.
And now you're bringing in the guy, like, there's a reasonable expectation. Like, look, man, you're going to bring in this guy who's completely fresh, who doesn't really know any of these guys. It's like, well, why would I play Timothy Way? He's a guy who's barely playing in Juventus. I'm going to bring in maybe like a Kevin Paredes who's playing for, where's it, Wolfsburg in Germany. So yeah, like, I'd rather take my shots on him, and maybe he can work into his system. And that's another thing too, is just tactically, I think he's going to bring a lot more tactics to the game, which I'm curious to see how he can unlock some of these players and maybe they can discover something that they might have in a new system. I'm curious what formation he's going to run. I mean, my guess, he's probably going, based off history, he's probably going to run a 4-2-3-1, which probably the best for this team. I will say,
I would agree.
I'm wondering if, hold up, I got a random call. I'm wondering if he's going to play a more possessive style type of ball or more of a transition style. Because I've always felt that this USA team is better in transition, because I don't know if they necessarily have the quality and the passing capability to be like those teams that can play out of the back and be like a Spain, for example, who can just kill you with beautiful passes, which I felt like these past couple windows they try to be. And even since the whole like past couple years, honestly, I feel when they play at these higher levels, I feel like they try to play better than what they actually have the capability to do so, especially in the midfield, because outside of Gio Reyna, you don't really have anybody who can really make that final pass. I mean, you hope that Malik Tillman could have been that guy, but he never really was that guy at the international level. So you don't really have a lot of playmakers. But you have a lot of speed and a lot of guys who can break those lines. So I don't know. We'll see as time goes on, but there's one thing for sure. I will say, as a whole, CONCACAF is getting more competitive, and that transitions me over to Canada, who just recently beat the USA. And I think if there's anything to light a fire in the ass of the USMNT squad, that is the rise of Canada and how they continue to impress and how they continue to get better, with the addition of Jesse Marsh being added to this team right before the Copa America, making a semifinal run, and now beating the USA on home soil in Kansas City, and then drawing Mexico 0-0 in a very grueling match, with both kind of having B+, A- squads, not like fully top squads, but nonetheless, in a very impressive window. Will, what do you think of this most recent window of Canada? Is Canada rightfully, as it currently stands, not based off accolades or anything, are they the best team in CONCACAF as it stands right now?
Man, are these guys, are the Canadian men's national team, are they the kings of CONCACAF? The Great North, Drake, Justin
Great
Bieber,
White North,
the Great White North. I mean, Toronto Raptors, whatever.
Ryan Reynolds,
dude. Justin Trudeau. Listen, I'll be real with you guys. These guys, man, they're showing up, and I will
Trudeau?
be the first to admit.
You want to go with Justin Bieber?
Hey, I said he's the first one. Yeah.
Oh, you did say Justin Bieber? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't hear that. That's funny.
And dude, let's throw Alphonso Davies on that list. I mean, this guy himself. I mean, Jonathan David. I will be the first one to admit it. I was not on the Canada hype train after the World Cup. Granted, obviously, it was a pretty piss performance World Cup from the Canadian men's national team. Still haven't won a game at a World Cup officially yet. But the way that they qualified there was obviously where this, Kings of CONCACAF Canada came out of. And Canada said, we own that. Obviously, the past years kind of trickled on. Nations League last summer, they lost to the USA in the final, lost to Jamaica in the quarterfinals in this past one. So, it's been very like up and down, hippity hop, to say the least, inconsistent, and I thought that was going to be the same thing from this Canada this summer. I kind of genuinely thought they were just going to get Conembol. I thought they were just going to get slapped around the face, and they didn't. And it wasn't just one game where they showed up against Peru and said, here we go, we're in. It was Peru, it was Chile, it was Venezuela. Shit, even against Uruguay in that third place game, they still put up a fight. And they were battling, you know what I mean? So
Argentina twice.
Argentina twice, lost both games, but hell of good fights in both of those. And that's just the thing. And even this past window, I think it's starting to get noticeable. And keep in mind, boys, no Ismail Kone. like you were saying, Julian, A- kind of B+ squad. No Ismail Kone, who is still injured. Matthias Chonier, probably butchering his name, playing over now in the Swiss First Division. Chouanier from Montreal, who went over there. Chouanier just picked up the crap and said, let's go. He just said, cool. He was like, let me get my shit and I'm ready to move. They're not.
That guy was a baller on Montreal. That guy was good.
He's just getting better and better. And this team, they're young, they're agile, they're fast. And let's just not even forget about him. Let's just mention him right off the bat. They got freaking Jesse Marsh, man. I mean, this guy is he's not scared. I genuinely don't even think Jesse Marsh is scared of death itself. He has the capability to just speak up and not be afraid of anything. So I think, honestly, yes, to answer your question, though, Julian, they are the best team in CONCACAF at this moment. Are they the best team within the past 3 or 4 years? Could you say no? That's still the U.S. men's national team. I think Canada has to either win this upcoming next summer a Gold Cup or a Nations League. If they win one of those two, I think the Canadian men's national team can really solidify that they are undisputed the best team in CONCACAF.
I will say this. I think right now, as it currently stands, they're the most informed. I think they're in a hot streak. They're doing well. They're in form. I wouldn't call them the Kings though, because you got to win something. You got to win a crown. You got to take down. You got to take down. You got to take down the king to be the king. You can't.
They just did.
No, in a friendly and yes, they looked good, but no, you have to do it in a serious tournament. You have to make a real change. And to be the king CONCACAF, you got to have a CONCACAF title. The U.S. and Canada hasn't won anything since the year 2000. You can't be the king if you haven't won nothing since 2000. Now, I will say, if they continue the run that they're on and then they go and win the Nations League, I will say then they're the kings of CONCACAF. I don't want to throw the Gold Cup in there yet because there's a lot of rumors with how the Gold Cup's going to be. It looks like it's going to be the first Gold Cup, probably the most serious Gold Cup in a long time.
Right.
We're going to be inviting people from every confederation. It's going to be like a little mini World Cup. It seems like, there's talks of two AFC teams, 2 UEFA teams, 2 Conembol teams, 2 African teams. So we'll see how that shapes up. Depending who gets invited, that will probably determine how I feel. If like, all right, who's going to be the real favorites? And I'm excited to talk about that when that gets to that point, to have an actual serious Gold Cup for the first time in fucking forever. So, but to me, the big standout as it's what it's going to be right now is going to be Nations League, because that just seems, as it currently stands, the one that's solely CONCACAF and is being taken the most serious over the past 3 or 4 years. So once that happens, then I'll give it to them. But for sure, the most informed team, they're on fire. They got a coach that fits their play style, that fits these players. It's a beautiful marriage. Adam, what do you think of Canada so far?
I mean, I think the main thing that you should look at if you want to see how far they've come is where their stars are playing. And their stars are playing in the top teams in Europe, and yes, there has, when they had Alphonso Davies, he was probably like the first one that everybody really knew because he was playing for Bayern. But you got Jonathan David now, who's a top striker in Europe. You got these, and then you got top MLS players who are coming in from Canada now. So it's not just, it's either American in the MLS or imported players from overseas or whatever. So if you want to really see how far they've come, you just look at that and see where their players are playing, and you go, damn, they're, they got some senior experience now. And that's really been the key, is now they're coming in to more of a level playing field. They play against guys of their caliber, if not better, on a weekly basis. So it's not so much of a shock for them to come up to their national team, have a coach that's as well suited to their system as Marsh, and it's not a surprise that they're going to perform well. Now, I don't think that this was, definitely was not the strongest USA team. So I think we need to take that into consideration. And I think what Julian was alluding to was right. you can say, hey, it's more competitive now, but unless you see them actually beat the US in a final, then you shouldn't really be saying, oh, the tide's turned yet. So there's still ways to go, but it's interesting. They're making it interesting.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what the future holds for this Canadian team. Just CONCACAF as a whole. It's really cool to see CONCACAF really rise, and not just the big three, but just like other countries too, like Panama, Costa Rica, Jamaica getting better. It seems like there's starting to be a little bit more variety of teams than just USA and Mexico that are really stepping in and getting better. And it's crazy too is like Canada was really like nothing. Like Canada was like an afterthought. Like let's even like 10 years ago, like outside of like Vancouver, Montreal, and Toronto, like the three MLS teams, I never really thought about them, especially in a national team level. But as they've had the chance to, build up their MLS academies and filter players all throughout the country into these academies and then sell it, it's, you can't help but look at MLS and be like, wow, they're a big part of why Canada has risen so much, because without it, who knows where Canada would be. I mean, maybe they would for sure still be behind. I don't know how long it would take, but the strides they've made has been absolutely insane. But let's switch over. I know Will is super excited to talk about this. I want to talk about some more CONCACAF Nations League that happened over this September window. This is the first round of the Nations League for CONCACAF and for a lot of countries too. I believe Europe, this was their first round as well. Will, what was kind of some of your standouts from this Nations League for CONCACAF? Give me some countries that you were impressed by.
Yeah. I got to kind of start off a little bit looking at some past results that happened over this past CONCACAF Nations League, like you were talking about, Julian. The big ones that really stood out, obviously, just for our viewers, I myself do not watch League C. So if we don't speak anything about Dominica or the U.S. Virgin Islands, no hate, all love to you guys. So we're not too into it, but a little bit of League A.
You want to see the Virgin Derby?
Man, hey, that's a good game though. They played that a couple months ago. So shout out to you guys in the Virgin Islands, man. All of you guys. So, but no, League A, interesting. Obviously, a group of Costa Rica, Guatemala, Suriname. If I'm not incorrect, Guyana as well, Guadeloupe, and I want to say Martinique. Interesting games in that Group A. Obviously, the big one, that kind of the outliers that Costa Rica draw to Guatemala. Saw a little bit. I know we had talked a little bit between amongst ourselves. You guys probably watched it as well. That was just a very interesting, kind of, it was a boring game. Even Julian, we were texting, I remember, and it was like, I remember watching the highlight reel and I was like, wow, I really didn't even watch much. I just saw one or two shots from maybe like Josim Alcacer take one outside the box. And then maybe like Jose Maria Pinto for Guatemala hit a shot outside. And I will say, give it to Guatemala. They scored a goal offside. I'm not wrong. Nathaniel Mendez-Lang scored that. It was an offside goal. It was maybe like a good meter off. So I think the defense would have been fine. But listen, I think honestly for Costa Rica, the only thing that worries a little bit, if I was a Costa Rican fan going into that, obviously them and Guatemala are heavily the favorites. Suriname's already at 4 points, and they're lucky that Suriname's not at 6 points because they could have been at 6 and could have been the leader of this group if it wasn't for. Suriname's at 3. Suriname lost to Guadeloupe. They're quite lucky that they didn't beat Guadeloupe and had 6 points. Guadeloupe has 3 points. If I'm not wrong, Martinique has 1, and then Guyana has 1 as well.
Yes.
So the thing is, you can already kind of knock those two teams out. For Costa Rica, it's going to be interesting. Listen, I think honestly, if they don't make the Nations League quarterfinal, all respect, love you, Julian. You're the man. Know you're big Tico and stuff. If you guys don't make the quarterfinals, this is a shithole. You guys are an absolute shitter, dude. I mean, you have to make it at least the quarterfinals. Get out of the group. We got to see with that. Listen, for Guatemala, big thing as well for them is they're trying to make it to their first ever quarterfinals or even close to their first semifinals Nations League. Same thing for Honduras as well. They're trying to make it back to their second one. It's a little bit different for them and their path. So I think it's honestly just showing, though, that for Costa Rica, without a head coach, the level is coming down, and that whole Gustavo Alfaro, I can already see Julian's face is, kind of it's swelling up a little, but dude, it hurts, man, and it's unfortunate because it was nobody in the well, maybe I don't know, but there's really nobody to blame and nobody you really can point fingers at. Obviously, not the players; they have nothing to do with that. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely point at Paraguay FA, but
you lose to us, and then you take our coach. Like, what a scumbag! Like, I'm sorry, what a scumbag federation. It's like KD going to the Warriors after losing to them the year before.
Essentially the same exact thing. And it sucks to see it because you guys were making good strides. And to be quite realistic, this CONCACAF Nations League could have been that kind of marching window for you guys. Now, I will say, though, bottom line, I think you and Suriname, I don't think Guatemala is going to get out. I think you guys will beat them. I think Suriname is going to get that second place. But I still will believe that you guys will get out. Group B, though, Jamaica doing what they do. I mean, they're literally the fathers of Honduras, So always, we always know what the H stands for in Honduras, hijos, our little sons. So everybody owns Honduras. I mean, it's just something they're not the best at. Listen, I don't know if they will get out. That loss was crucial. If I'm not wrong, they have the double with Jamaica as well. They're going to have to play them again in that last leg in Jamaica. So best of luck to them. I think Jamaica and probably Trinidad and Tobago, if they can close out their games. So we'll see how it goes. But League B, I know, Julian, I know, Adam, you guys are watching, keeping up with that. What do you guys think?
I would say like on Group A, I would say this is extremely disappointing for Costa Rica. This is I believe the first time that they're actually even playing in the league. Usually they're right where Panama is, where you're straight in the knockouts. Yeah, where you're straight in the knockouts, already qualified. This is the first time we actually have to play in the league. And, it's immensely disappointing. Obviously, the reason why we have to play in the groups because we got knocked out badly against Panama last year. So therefore, we got sent to the actual table this year. Man, even looking at the Guadalupe game, I mean, that first half was 0-0. Rough. And then luckily talent superseded it all, and you come in and you get 3-0. Because the thing is, and what bothers me a lot is, and this proves to you how important coaching is, because our player pool right now is honestly the best player pool I've seen in my lifetime. Like depth-wise, starting 11, like genuinely, like when obviously like no, when I'm talking about just like where they play, the talent potential, obviously they're all still very young. We've never had, at least that I can remember, of these many players playing in bigger leagues at this age, developing so well and have this much depth. It's been a long time. Usually with Costa Rica, what it's been like, at least in my lifetime, you have your top 4 or 5 players. You had your Borges, you had your Ruiz, you had your Campbell, you had your Navas. And then everything after that was just a shit show. You had a couple players here and there like Gamboa and so on and so forth. But this time I'm looking at the player pool and I'm like, wow, we almost have an entire player pool of players not playing in the domestic league, which is pretty rare. And not just not playing in the domestic league, but playing in solid leagues. You know what I mean? Not just obviously there's a couple players here and there, and we've shown how like now they're not getting called up anymore because they decided to go play in fucking wherever, Thailand and Latvia. And like, no, we're not going to reward that. Because, you reward that, then everybody's going to fucking do it. You need to reward the players that are actually playing in higher level leagues. But nonetheless, it's been really disappointing to see not only the formations being called, and it felt like when you brought in a guy like Gustavo Alfaro, you're bringing in a guy who is starting to learn these players very well and learning somebody who knows how to play against their opponent. And then you bring in our interim he is just terrible. They couldn't create anything. They couldn't get anything going. There just seems to be no creativity. There's no linkage. Like your back line is really well, and then the front is really talented, but the midfield, there's no combining at all. The midfield is just so weak, which is probably the weakest position group for Costa Rica. And we saw that a lot in these past 2 games with Guatemala. And I do want to give Guatemala a shout out. They did play really well. They played very defensively solid. They really shut down our creativity. I do think a part of that's because you didn't play our most creative player in the position that they want to play. And now people are going after him. And that is Brandon Aguilera. It's like, you're going after a guy and you've yet to let him play in his natural position as the 10. You keep on putting him as a CDM, which makes no sense. It's like trying to put fucking Kevin De Bruyne play the same position as Tchouaméni. It makes no sense. It's like, why are you doing that? Like, no, put him up front and let him be the playmaker that he is. So, but nonetheless, I do want to give Guatemala credit. They're playing really well. And just in general, even in the World Cup qualifying, they were doing really well. I know we got a lot of hate from me and Will talking shit about the Guatemalans. Hey. But you know what, man? I'll eat my words. You guys are playing really well. You know, obviously, you guys are showing with a lot of passion and playing above your level and playing at the level of some of these players. Like, I'll be honest, like I don't want to say it's disrespectful, but like getting a 0-0 against Costa Rica, a team that historically will, like, you would chalk that up as a win. Getting a result from us that's a big deal. Like that's serious. Like, and now you're really fighting for a position to get into the knockout rounds. So I give them credit with there. I'm curious to see how the Suriname goes. Suriname has already lost, but yeah, they're going to be competitive. Jamaica, it looks like this is just Jamaica's group to just completely just run away with for the most part. I mean, they did get a draw, but I don't see Jamaica really losing this. And then I'm curious to see, like, when Mason Greenwood comes into the fold, how he's going to shape out and what's going to happen with Leon Bailey. Is he actually going to play for them? I'm still at Jamaica wait and see, because I keep on seeing all these players going over there. I keep on hearing about how good they are. And I see how good they play in the Prem and wherever else they play, but I've yet to see it really at a high level. And I just need to see it. Like, so I'm sitting at a wait and see for Jamaica. I'm be honest, as for Group B, I didn't really watch a lot of Group B. I did watch my other fellow national team, Puerto Rico, play, had a really tough loss against Haiti, but then they beat Aruba in a very poor way. And it's because you're missing your best player. And outside of him, there's absolutely no creative bone in anybody else's body. So he is your main playmaker. And I would say they were holding up really well against Haiti, even though Haiti's pretty down right now. Haiti is historically a pretty good nation in the CONCACAF region. They're usually a very competitive nation, even though they've been, like I said, a lot of political issues aside, they've been having a rough go at it as of recently, not really being able to play at home or anything like that. So, but I don't know if there's any quick things you want to bring in Group B real quick, Well, before we move on to
Real quick, honestly, like you kind of said, I think the big one, I was just pulling up the standings. Jamaica I do want to confirm, Jamaica is running the double up on Honduras. So they will be playing them in that the fourth game. It's a weird fixture, I know, for our people watching. I was confused as well myself. It is the Swiss format. So it's only 4 games. They do not play every team. It's a strange format.
That is weird.
Yeah, I don't get it. They did it last year. You guys know CONCACAF. We like to make shit up.
It's too many teams.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah. So, but listen, I think honestly, Cuba, they could be another team that's up there. They're fighting for it as well right now. They're already at 3 points, if I'm not wrong. But it'll be interesting. I agree with you. Nicaragua as well. They're up there. They've got 4 points right now. They're in that second place. So it's going to be interesting for Honduras. They're going to have to get a win in Jamaica if they even want to think about qualifying. And then, like you said, Julian, League B, I hate to say it. Listen, I just want to shout out real quick my boy Julian. Hey, so while the game's going on, I got to say this real fast. Leandro scored the first goal, right, for Puerto Rico. And Julian drops in the group, and he was like, we just scored. Look at the scoreboard, like 1-0. I didn't watch the game. I'll be real for our people watching. Well, I tune on a little bit later. I check my phone out, check out the score. It's 4-1.
Yeah.
Haiti
came out of nowhere that second half. Haiti was terrible that first half. And then that second half, Haiti was playing like fucking prime, like 2010 Spain. Like, I don't know what happened, but Haiti just turned it on. Fafa Picot had like a absolute banger of a game.
Dukin's
I thought they were playing. Puerto Rico was playing very well. I thought they were the better team in the first half. They looked very good. And then they fell apart. But it's a learning experience. Like I said, you also didn't have your best player on the field. So especially in a team like this, where if you don't have your best player, that's a huge, huge hit. So, but yeah. nonetheless. And it looks like El Salvador is going to run away and get promoted again, which is crazy.
And that's
we got.
I was going to say that real quick. El Salvador, look at Curacao, Haiti. Even you could even argue Dominican Republic with the talent that they're bringing up right now. None of these teams should be in League B, and that's just to be fair to you guys even as well. Puerto Rico, you guys got promoted from League C. It was big. You guys were fighting. You're fighting for promotion. To be matched with Haiti, obviously Aruba and then Saint Martin are a little bit lower, but to be matched with Haiti, it's just like good luck, boys.
I mean, shit. Look at Europe. I mean, you can complain. There's a lot of teams, but I mean, look who's in B in UEFA. I mean, seriously,
is it? I haven't even actually looked at it.
England's in B.
Well, I mean,
yeah,
there's different levels, though. I mean, that is wild.
But that's what I'm saying. It's just I know there's a lot of teams, and you look at it and you go, well, you could probably rebalance it. If you look at it a certain way and you look at certain teams and you go, okay, this is one tier of teams. This is another tier of teams. Having like the US's, Canada's, Mexico's in one tier, and then like another tier that has like the Costa Rica, the Jamaicas, the other contenders, the Panama's, exactly.
The top three, and then the right.
It could be a lot better, but let me pull up just so you guys get an idea.
Crazy. I'm looking at
B of Europe. If the UEFA website would actually load, because it's fucking garbage.
Why you look that up?
Piece of shit website.
I'm looking at Group B, Group 2 in League B. St. Lucia, Curacao, Granada, and St. Martin. It's like, dude, none of those teams deserve to get promoted, but yet you have like, I mean, El Salvador is the main one that's like, all right, they're the clear shout, but then you like. Obviously, Haiti, Puerto Rico, the tough ones. But then you look at A, and it's like, how the fuck did Guyana get in there, or French Guiana, or like even Cuba? Like, and Martinique? Like, how did these guys get into League A? Like, and then you look at like El Salvador's in B, Haiti's in B. It's just
here's some notable B teams in UEFA, because it finally loaded. This website really is bad. So you got Czech, Ukraine, Greece, England, Ireland, Finland, Norway, Austria, Turkey, Wales. So a lot of really decent teams in B.
England's the only outlier, though, for me.
England's the big outlier.
Everything else kind of makes sense. I kind of get
Norway, kind of, yeah.
It's just the way they draw the group. Some of these teams, they get lucky and they end up in A. So, like, you got outliers who shouldn't be in A, like Scotland, Israel,
Israel's
Bosnia and Hungary. Yeah.
What?
Oh,
wow!
It's the format. It's just the format is strange.
It's the format.
I think too. UEFA doesn't take it as serious either. Like they
pretty much don't have friendlies anymore because of this.
Yeah, that's true.
and that's why a lot of UEFA fans don't like Nations League. But like,
and when you look at some, you have Sweden. Sweden's in C. That's pretty. I would say I
like Nations League and Concacaf. To me, it makes sense. Obviously, maybe if you're like a USA, Mexico, Canada fan, like maybe you don't like it as much. But outside of those three, I mean, I can see an argument to like have Mexico, USA, and Canada, and the Panama, Jamaica, Costa Rica all kind of play into a tournament every year. But I can understand for UEFA like kind of being whatever about it. But I like Nations League, at least for CONCACAF's sake. I think it makes sense. I think it's good. I don't know what other nation does, other confederation. I don't know if Africa does it. I know Asia and CONMEBOL don't do it.
No,
I think it's just UEFA and CONCACAF.
I don't think Africa does it. I don't think so.
Africa would make sense to do it.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say no.
But the thing is, go ahead, Julian.
I was just going to say the only one that doesn't make sense not to have it is CONMEBOL because you only have like 10 countries. But like every other confederation, I don't see why not have a.
They wanted them to go to Europe, though. That was the initial purpose when they created the European Nations League, because it's about the same time frame with CONCACAF back in 2020, 19, 28, somewhere around there. Whenever they created it, was to have those joint, kind of like Adam was saying, kind of erase the friendlies and combine, in a sense, not combine the federations, but combine more games. and have more meaning behind it, because obviously that was the big complaint was, oh, it's just friendlies, yada, this and that. But obviously the goal was to have like a Colombia versus a Scotland in a League A, or to have like in a League C, Paraguay versus I don't know, Iceland. You know what I mean? It was stuff like that. Obviously that never happened. I don't know what the fall through was on that, but that was the initial purpose with Nations League, European, and the Conembol little collab.
It seems like it would make more sense to kind of like with the Copa Americas to blend Nations League with Concacaf and Conembol. That seems a more natural fit, obviously. Because the thing with Europe, there's just so many fucking countries there where trying to squeeze in 10 more doesn't make sense. I mean, Concacaf kind of makes it work because there still is a decent amount of countries. There's so many little islands, but I think adding 10 more into there, it would make League A more interesting, and League B for sure. I think it'd make League B for sure. And I'm still for like make less windows, but make the windows longer. Like, I don't feel like we need a September, October, November. Like,
yeah, they do
put it all in like just do October. Get rid of September, get rid of November, and just make October like 3 weeks long. Make that window longer, and then you have December.
It makes it more exciting, more international games.
No, you'll still have the same amount of games. It's just in a bigger window.
Yeah,
so
but that's
so you're having more time. So because the thing too is like if you only have like 2 weeks or a week and a half with your team, and then you got to leave, it's like you're not really developing anything or have a chance to really install any new systems. If you're able to double that time frame, it gives these coaches and these like assistant coaches to be able to kind of install some sort of framework and really work together to kind of figure things out. Because I'd rather have a month of like of a camp than to just have here's a week here, especially like in September. It's like the league just started. Like the club leagues just started, and then you got to leave. And so then you get in a situation like USA where it's like, all right, I got like a guy who I want to call in because he's one of our best prospects, but I feel like it might be best for him to stay with his club team and try to fight for a position there versus like, I'd rather just give me an October, give me like a December, March, and then the summer. And then like one each season, like fall, winter, spring, summer, and then just make them longer. Because I'm for that. I think you get more time together versus like breaking it up a bunch of times. And then you got to think a lot of the travel, like you're playing in Spain, especially South America, and then you got to go play in Argentina and go play in South America and then fly all the way back over. That shit's I don't know if, like, I know Adam's in the fly. I don't know if you've flown over to Europe, Will, but that shit becomes a lot, especially if you come from South America, because that's even farther. But
it's a pain in the ass, especially. But I don't have too much of a problem going to Europe. I think going to Europe is a lot easier because it's almost like you have like a night on the plane, and then the next day you're in Europe. So it's kind of like a reset.
Coming home is harder.
Coming home is way harder. Way harder. Oh my God. I remember the first time that I was like not like a little kid and I came back from Europe. We landed at like 4:30 in the afternoon, and when we got back to the house by like 6 o'clock, I was asleep. Like done, like out cold. Like I didn't even try and go to sleep. I just laid down for a minute. I was out, and it's like, and my whole day was ruined the next day. It was fucked for like a good 24 hours I had. So yeah, it's if you don't know, if you don't know, if you've never experienced it before, it's a lot worse. When you're used to it, it's like, okay, you kind of know what you're coming back from. So when I came back from England, it's like, all right, you kind of get the idea. You give yourself some time to reset. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
But yeah, anyway, speaking of South America, let's talk a little bit of Conembol World Cup qualifying. I do want to start off with Brazil. So Brazil just had a terrible window, and currently they're in the final spot of the qualifying. They're in fifth? Okay. Barely. I wasn't sure if they're in seventh or they're in fifth. Either way, this is one of the worst runs that I've ever seen from Brazil. I'm sure everybody else feels this way. This is terrible. And the thing too, while yes, the quality, like the player, what's the word? Like the talent is a little lower than what we're used to. At the end of the day, these are still some of the best players in the world playing on this Brazil team. And they're still like, they shouldn't be playing this bad. While yes, the talent's not like where it was 15 years ago or 20 years ago.
Right.
This is still like a team with Vinicius. This is still a team with Rodrigo and Paquetá and Gabriel and Marquinhos and Anderson. And like, this is still a team with some of the best players in the world. And to be playing this bad is absolutely insane. This is terrible. And all I can think about, and Neymar gets a lot of shit and has his whole career for like maybe not taking things as serious. But the one thing I would always give Neymar is that motherfucker always showed up for Brazil. And now that he is gone and he's hurt, I'm starting to realize, even though he went to go play in Saudi Arabia, he is still the heart and soul of that team. And I'm starting to appreciate Neymar so much more in his later part of his career and that past World Cup, because I thought he had an incredible World Cup. He had a really good World Cup. And now that he's gone, I'm like, oh my God, like this team has no creativity. This team can't create any chances. They can't finish any chances. And now I'm starting to say like, wow, like Neymar really was that guy who truly unlocked everything for that team. And he's the only guy I feel like currently for the national team can really take on people one-on-one. Vinicius can for Real Madrid, but he can't do it for Brazil for whatever reason. And I tell you what, my respect for Neymar has gone through the roof. I always had a love for Neymar, but especially seeing what's happening with Brazil now, with him like really being gone for the first time in a long time and being away from the game, and who knows how well he returns. I'm like, the question too is like, to whoever wants to take it, is Neymar the most important player for Brazil? Still.
Adam, you want to go? You want to roll?
I don't think he would have the same impact, but I do think at this point with this team, it would help. It's a bad sign when I have I think it was like a 15, 16 leg parlay, all international. I had freaking Asian games in there. I had African games in there. I had European games in there. I'm not kidding. And the last game of the day was Brazil. And I fucking looked at that score at halftime and I said, nope, and cashed the fuck out of that bitch. And it wasn't that big of a profit, but I got a few bucks out of it because I didn't see it out to the end. And boy, oh boy, was that a good decision. They just don't look like the Brazil that everybody knows. It's almost like, and I feel like this might be too far, but I'm curious what you think. It's almost like after they lost at home in the World Cup to Germany, it's been more of a struggle for them. I just feel like it's always been, that's when Argentina started to come up. They started to struggle. It's kind of both at the same time. I feel like that was the turning point. It could have happened a little after that, but that's what I'm thinking.
I'd say everybody points to that game as like,
because Neymar. Let me remind people that Neymar got a pretty bad injury against Colombia in the game before, so he was out injured and was not on the field for that. So that's another thing. It was kind of like a glimpse into the future of Brazil. Like, hey, you guys aren't as stacked as you once were. You rely on the stars, because that's what Brazil used to be. They had the stars, but they were stacked. So it's like you have a Ronaldo, you have a Ronaldinho, but you look at everybody else on that team, and everybody else on that team you would take in your club, 100%. That's the Brazil team that used to play. Now it's just a few stars and then the rest. And that's not how Brazil functions. And if that's how they continue to operate, then it's not gonna be a good sign.
And my thing too is like, yes, maybe the talent level's not there, but they're still talented enough that they should be a top 2 team competing with Argentina as the best team. They're still like I look. I know Paquetá is not like the greatest thing since sliced bread, but this is still a quality player in the Prem. Like obviously he's not like one of the best midfielders in the world, but he's still a quality player. And then like, look, we don't know what Endrick's going to be. He's still super young, so you're relying on a guy who's like fucking 19. You got a guy like Rafinha who's playing at Barca and is a regular starter there. You have Vinny who's getting Ballon d'Or looks, which I don't think he deserves because I think, especially in this year where there's a lot of international competitions, I think to be a Ballon d'Or winner, you have to also perform for your international team as well. Unless you play for like Norway like Holland does, then yeah, maybe you can disregard that a little bit.
Well, I mean, let's even use the Lewandowski example. The year that they didn't have a Ballon d'Or, and everybody, including Messi, said that he should have had it if they had given it out that year. Did he do anything extra special for Poland? No, that's actually been a thing for him for a while. It was he struggled. But I think Brazil's. But I understand that, but I'm just saying, like it was such a big deal for him when he scored in the World Cup, even though they didn't really go do anything with it. He scored a goal, and it was kind of like a finally moment. I mean, this dude's in his 30s. He's won everything at that point, and he hasn't scored a goal at the World Cup. So it's hard to judge it like that. You can have certain seasons where you're so freaking good for the club where I don't think it matters. I think you can have such a dominant club season that you will get it no matter what. But I agree that it's the tipping point. I think it's the tipping point. When you look at two people and you're like, they both had excellent seasons, who do you pick? You pick the guy who had the better international season. That always seems to be the tiebreaker.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at Modric. Look at Messi.
Modric absolutely won the Ballon d'Or because of Croatia. Absolutely.
Yeah.
100. Like that's Messi, just what it is. It's a tiebreaker. Everybody knows Modric is one of the best players on that team, but then he takes Croatia to the fucking final, and everybody's like, "Holy shit! Wait a minute, he's world."
Yeah, but then you look at that. Yeah, then you look at that year and you look at the club, and it's like, well, Messi should have won it that year, but Argentina didn't make it that far. And I think when you're like a top player that also plays for a contending international team, I think you have to be good for your international team. I think that counts, especially if like you have Bellingham on the other side, who he didn't look good for England, but he made it to a final. You know what I mean? Nonetheless, like he didn't have a great. Or you look at Lautaro. Lautaro scored 30 goals in the Serie A, 30 plus goals in the Serie A, and won the game-winning goal for Argentina in Copa America. Like I think you had
off the bench, doesn't even start.
Should have never been benched. I've said that from the jump that I thought he should have never been benched. But nonetheless, well, give us your answer. Yeah. Is Neymar the most important player?
Real quick with Brazil, listen, at this moment, undoubtedly, Julian, I think you just hit the nail on the head when you said it. I used to look at Neymar and say, this is a little bitch boy. He needs to grow up, throw some balls. I remember watching him.
I wouldn't go that far, but I used to be similar.
I wouldn't go that far either. That was
But I would say it's a similar mindset, but not that far.
I'm an Argentina supporter. I love them, obviously, after Panama. My nation will always come first. But the thing is, obviously, I remember watching the Copa Americas and the past games, and I was just like, wow, this guy's weak. This guy, this and that. But I will say this: Neymar is an absolute. It's not that he is one of the best. He is one of the best players to ever step foot on this earth. What he can do at his feet, the way he controls the ball, his movements when he's off the ball, that's some of the best plays you'll ever see from him. Even his time at PSG, for those absolute shithouse PSG fans, how they treated him, he was one of the greatest players that they will ever have at that club. And realistically, Brazil, he is going to be not the best, but I would still put Pele first, but the second best player to ever wear a Brazilian jersey. And it's Neymar. It's Neymar Jr.
Is he tied for the leading goal scoring title for Brazil?
I think he's the leader.
One ahead?
He's ahead.
I can't remember if he's a leader, if he's ahead, or if he's tied.
He took the tie, I want to say, in this World Cup cycle in the first game against Bolivia. He was still playing. This was last year, 2023, before he picked up his injury, before he went over to Saudi Arabia. And listen, I think he is the biggest player. And yes, Brazil needs him. It's so inevitable. I think he will make it to the World Cup. It's just time will tell. Pele. Yeah. So
79.
But, man, but it's hard though. I want to run it back to you guys, Julian, Adam. I want to hit you guys with the next question. Obviously, talking about Brazil, very, very down. Another team that lost, Argentina, lost to Colombia 2-1 in Barranquilla. Lionel Scaloni was mad. My boy Dibu Martinez, a little camera smack, got upset, got pissed off with some of the guys there. Listen, rightfully so. I understand it. Why are you in the guy's face like that? But listen, I want to hear you guys. Who do you guys think out of this past Conmebol window? Julian, I want to throw to you first. Who do you think had the most, obviously, besides Brazil, because that Paraguay loss was, you can't do that. And barely beating Ecuador at home as well was kind of interesting. But who do you think had the most disappointing window this past September besides Brazil?
When you define disappointing, you're saying I expected more? Like my expectations versus what I got?
Yes. In a sense of what did you expect? And they went completely down the bar.
By not letting us pick Brazil.
That's just that's a scapegoat. That's too easy. I want to hear another one. What do you guys got?
But it's so true. I mean, if you want me to say Argentina, then I'll say Argentina because they should beat Colombia. They're the world champions, and I don't give a shit that they didn't have Messi. You know, Messi's like he's got one foot out the door at this point. So I mean,
yeah.
But Colombia is a tough team, and they've always been a fierce rival.
Yeah, and that's a good point because Colombia. I mean, obviously that Copa America, this was fresh off their minds. Liz, I think honestly, them playing in Barranquilla was, you could say their get back, obviously for the Copa America, but it was almost inevitable.
If you want me to pick someone else, then I'll pick Uruguay because I think those were two uninspiring draws that they had.
I agree with that.
I'm going to say Venezuela. I think losing 4-0 to Bolivia after coming off a really good Copa America, that is embarrassing.
Now,
like, especially if this Venezuela.
That's true.
But this Venezuelan team is supposed to be like up and coming team, like
hot as shit on the corner,
things and sliced bread, like it's just supposed to be. They had a great run in Copa America. But to lose 4, it's one thing to lose to Bolivia. 4-0 is absurd against a team who couldn't score, scored 1 goal the entire Copa America.
And that was against us. Yeah.
I understand maybe losing the game because from what I grasped that they played at even a higher altitude stadium. But 4-0 is insane. Like, that is wild to lose that bad. And then you get a draw against Uruguay, which is, I would say it's a solid result. I'd give you that. Like, being Venezuela getting a draw against Uruguay, I'll say that. But at least out of expectations, that would be my most disappointing. Like, if I was a fan. Now, team, like...
You already know.
I'm not disappointed in them because I already knew that they were frauds, and I tried to tell you that they were frauds.
Here we go.
What 6 months when we first started doing the Copa America previews?
Here we go.
That Chile is fucking trash. I told you, you wouldn't believe me, Will. You're like, no, they're the best team. They got Gareca. They're so good. Blah 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 blah. Oh, you and Gabriel, who we brought on the show as a guest. We're all hyping up Chile and all this other stuff. And I'm like, dude, they suck. Look at what they play. I watched them play in those previous games. They look terrible. They had no creativity. Everybody's either old as shit or is a teenager. They had a 40-year-old fucking goalkeeper. No. I was like, No, this team is terrible. Like, I think Gareca was overhyped. I think he had a good run with Peru, but like, no, like it's terrible. I'm not personally disappointed because I expected this. I told everybody they didn't score a single goal in the Copa America, and I was completely right about that. And I knew they were going to continue to struggle. So I just want to say, well, take your L.
Man.
But they're not my most disappointed because I knew it was going to happen.
Right. I'll say it for me, they are, and I'll get to in a sec. The results, obviously, from match day 7, Bolivia beat Venezuela. Reading this off right now, Bolivia beat Venezuela 4-0. Argentina beat Chile 3-0. Brazil beat Ecuador 1-0. Uruguay and Paraguay came out to a 0-0 draw, and Colombia and Peru tied 1-1. Then match day 8, Colombia beat Argentina 2-1. Paraguay beat Brazil. Paraguay beat Brazil 1-0. Uruguay, Venezuela, like you guys were saying, tied 0-0. Ecuador beat Peru. Big win for the Ecuadorians. And Bolivia, to final it out, beat Chile 2-1 in Santiago. Listen, man, this Chilean team is no, I agree with you, Julian. They're no God-sent team. This is not this gifted. No, dude, you got
dog shit, actually.
It's what a fall from grace. They were like a force to be reckoned with.
They won the Copa fucking America, twice in the Messi era, against and then the Brazil was still good,
Right.
And even in World Cups, even against European competition,
they haven't been to World Cups. That's the thing. The fall of this team has to be studied by somebody because it is just absolutely horrendous. These results, listen, the going to Argentina losing 3-0, understandable, respectful. They even put up a fight. The Bolivia game, I don't know how much you guys watched into it, the highlights. The goal they scored, even the goal that they scored, Eduardo Vargas was like it was a legitimate goal, but the Bolivian goalkeeper like fainted or his leg fell out or something, and he basically the ball went by, so it's Eduardo Vargas with a wide open ass net, and and the Bolivians are pissed off yet again. They go get their get back and they score a goal and win the game 2-1. So I don't really know how pissed they are still about the moment. But the thing is, like the fall of the just Chilean national team, and I agree with you, Julian. I'm not super shocked, but I am shocked in the sense of they're in 9th place. They're behind Bolivia. They're behind Paraguay, and they're also behind Venezuela, who Venezuela obviously is this big team, which, obviously didn't have the best window. But looking ahead, guys, obviously talking about disappointing teams, let's kind of go to a little bit more of a positive side. Who do you guys think had the best window or the best individually for them?
Bolivia. But like, dude, 4-0, like 2-1 in Santiago. Like, bro, come on, Bolivia. Like considering like they're like Bolivia would suck in CONCACAF. Like, I mean,
Bolivia is the San Marino of Conembol.
Yeah. Shout out San Marino. They won their first game, by the way. So fucking good for them. But yeah,
they won?
They did.
Yeah.
UEFA Nations League Group D is legendary. It's the greatest decision that UEFA's ever made in their entire history of being a federation.
I watch more League D than I watch more League A, and that's a fact. So
I watched more League D than I watched CONCACAF.
And that's ball knowledge.
No, but listen though, obviously they're going to come in hot, and the fact is, obviously, before we were talking a little bit about our predictions for this Conembol qualifiers. I still have my same. I still think Uruguay, Colombia, Argentina. I still think Brazil, as much as they're in the mud right now, I think they're going to be able to pick themselves up and get out of there. Ecuador's looked hot, man. Listen, dude, they didn't have the greatest Copa America, but they kind of went into this summer, and even in that Brazil game, they didn't look the worst. I mean, Moises Caicedo was putting Bruno Guimaraes in skates, dude. He's making this guy go all over the freaking field. Like, it was just something that, Moises Caicedo has been doing. Now they've got Purvis Estupiñán back as well with Ecuador. So it's interesting to see where those final spots going to go. Guys, I want to ask y'all, though, real quick to end it up on the Conembol, finish it off. Who are those last teams going to be? Or do you guys have a mix? Is Colombia going to get knocked out? What's going to happen? Do you think Brazil, are they going to get knocked out? Who's going to take that last spot?
The teams that don't make it?
How about that? Let's say that. Which 3 teams won't make it? Who are your 3 teams that will not qualify?
Peru's not making it. I don't think Chile is making it. And I don't think Bolivia is making it. I think as much as it pains me
Peru,
to say
Chile
this,
easily. Bolivia, is as good as it was. I agree. I mean, it's not gonna last.
I think
so Chile,
as much as it pains me to say this, I think Paraguay might get the playoff spot.
Yeah.
But they're I can also it's a 4-team race in my opinion. I think Venezuela's a lock. I think they get in. To me, Paraguay had a good game.
I think Ecuador have been playing very good.
Won against Brazil,
I don't think you can discount.
Also, I mean, they're playing hot. There. So I mean, odds are they're going to at least get that playoff spot. I see a world where Brazil probably gets 4th. Ecuador gets 5th. Venezuela gets 6th. I would probably just switch Brazil and Ecuador, and that's probably my final standings.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Chile?
what it is.
You think they can creep in, Julian?
Absolutely not. No. They're too far behind. Well, they're not that far behind, but I mean, it depends if Paraguay can keep this up. Obviously they're running high because they just stole their new, they just robbed a new coach, but
we'll see
if they can keep it up. They do have talent. But just know that I'm rooting against them. So, but I honestly think it's going to stay how it is. I'll just swap Brazil and Ecuador. I think Brazil's going to, at the end of the day, it's Brazil. They're going to figure it out. But I do think they're going to be too far behind the top 3 of Uruguay, Colombia, and Argentina to really get up there. But honestly, who cares? It doesn't matter as long as you're in. It's not like you get special seeding anyways. It's a draw. The only thing that really matters is that playoff spot. Can Paraguay win? I don't know. We'll see who else. I don't know what the matchup would be. Obviously, World Cup's still just under 2 years, so time will tell. But I want to switch it off to our final topic. And actually, since we did a lot of international talk, I want to switch it to a little bit of club talk, and specifically the MLS. We haven't talked MLS in a while. We've been talking a ton of international and Champions League, but I feel like we need to come back and give MLS some love. That's what we started off talking about when we first opened this podcast, as we started to slowly branch into other things. But I do always want to make MLS a topic to be talked about on this podcast. And I want to talk about the Supporter Sheild Race. I think now that the transfer window is officially over, not officially over, but I would say it's pretty much over. I think all the players that are going to come to MLS have come already. Obviously, you had the likes of Giroud and Marco Reus and a plethora of other younger, talented players that come in. But it looks like as the standings are right now, it's a 6-team race for the Supporter Shields, with the order being Inter Miami. Let me get the exact points on here before I go forward. All right, so we have Inter Miami at 59 points. We have LA Galaxy at 52 points. FC Cincinnati at 51 points. Columbus Crew 49. LAFC 48. And Real Salt Lake 47. And I'll probably end it there because I don't think anybody else will really compete for the spot after that. And even RSL's kind of a stretch. Really, I'd probably drop RSL. I'd say it's really a 5-team race. Pretty much Inter, LA, both LAs, and then Cincinnati and Columbus. So I'll pass it over to you first, Adam. As this, who do you like coming out of the Supporter Sheild Race this year? Who's going to lift that trophy that no one cares about?
I think it's pretty obvious at this point that
I love that, Julian.
with Messi coming back and how well Inter Miami have performed without Messi, I think you'd be dumb to not pick them. That was the key when he was injured. I was like, how will they survive? And having Suarez has definitely helped because that has saved their ass. But who do I think is in the race? I'm going to say I really don't see, instead of it being like maybe a 4 or 5 horse race, I honestly only seeing it being like a 2, maybe 3. I see Inter and Cincinnati for sure being in that. And on the West, LA, I don't really see LAFC or RSL doing it. LAFC could, but
you,
I don't know. I just think there's just too much ground to catch, and MLS is still MLS. You know, you could be as good as you want. You're not gonna have a 20-game win streak.
Yeah.
And just so the audio listeners know, Inter Miami has 27 games played. LAFC has 28 games played. Cincinnati has 27. And then the Crew and LAFC have 26 games played. So they're
Galaxy,
2 games behind the Galaxy.
You said LAFC in the beginning.
My bad. LA Galaxy has 28 games played. LAFC is 26. And so is the Columbus Crew is 26. So LAFC has 2 games in hand. And they're only 4 points behind the Galaxy. So I will say I think this is Inter Miami's in the bag. I was with you. I didn't think with Messi playing in the Copa America, with the odds of him going to get hurt, because it seems like now this stage of his career, he's just constantly hurt. You're not going to get a season without him being hurt. I thought, man, I don't know. I think Miami's definitely going to be a playoff team, potentially have home field advantage. I did not see them winning the Supporter Sheild race. I didn't think they had the depth to do so, but it's shown that depth is actually playing a little better than we anticipated. I thought Matias Rojas ended up being a lot better than expected. Suarez is playing like Suarez, man. Dude's scoring goals left and right, playing really
Diego
well.
Gomez has woken up and turned into a talent that is a star. Like we said he's probably on the way to Europe, and all he needed to do was just settle in and calm down because he was just playing nervous, and he's got that transfer. He'll be going to play for Brighton in the Premier League. So we got a Premier League star.
Yeah, I mean and then considering you added oh my God, why am I drawing a blank on his name? The young CDM Inter Miami got. Dad played at Real Madrid. Why am I drawing a blank? Why am I losing this?
Sergio Busquets now playing.
No, not Busquets.
I'm losing it too.
Busquets was playing really well. Jordi Alba was playing well. The back line is where it's really struggled. Like Inter Miami's back line has been a rotating circus left and right. But look, man, they've been playing well. They've been creating chances. They've been scoring goals left and right. And it's honestly surprised me a ton. Like I'm genuinely shocked to see them in this position. And they have a game in hand on the LA Galaxy, and they're 7 points ahead. So super shocked. I will say though, with Messi coming back, that gives me a little bit more assurance that they're going to continue to like push forward and still get first place, to stay in the first place. But like you said, it is MLS. Anything can happen. And I think Columbus Crew is really ramping up and starting to play really well. And they could catch up. I mean, they're only 8 points behind. So, oh no, my bad. They are 10 points behind with a game in hand. So it's possible, I will say. And then LAFC is starting to play really well. Now, Galaxy's good, dude. The Galaxy, and I called it in the beginning of the season, the Galaxy is really good. It's a shame that we got that matchup against the Galaxy the first week of MLS. Yeah. I would have loved to see that game like now or like a week later. But Will, who do you like in the Supporter Sheild race?
Man, you guys know this is your guys' race to lose, boys. Listen, if Inter Miami, looking at it right now in the standings, you guys have 59 points. Galaxy have 52 points. If I'm not wrong, the season ends October, right? Regular season?
Yeah. I mean, there's only 6 games? There's 34 games. So
Right. So it's coming down to the nit. You know, this is getting to the bones, the nitty-gritty.
About 7 to 6 games left, depending on the team.
Right, exactly. Now, regarding if you guys have to play LAFC 4 times, and LA Galaxy 3 times, then I would be like, yeah, you guys might lose it. Other than that, this is something for you guys just to clinch up and win it. Now, another team, like you said, I just would not sleep on the Columbus Crew. They got a U.S. Open Cup final coming up. Or no, I'm lying. No,
I was going to say, that's still a thing.
LAFC has a cup final coming up.
He does. They got a cup final coming up. So and I think it's against them, isn't it?
Yeah, no. It's LAFC versus Sporting KC is the cup final. Yeah, that's right.
Yep. So that's the thing, though. I think LAFC's mindset it's going to be a little bit more concentrated on that. I think they're going to be focused on that, obviously kind of gearing up for playoffs. I don't think they're too worried about the Supporter Shield. Yeah, listen, guys, this is for you all to win. I think obviously the talent, and Julian even said it earlier before it all started, that was going to be kind of the issue. But I think Inter Miami's being able to prove that, listen, you guys are some dogs, man. And I think realistically, if Inter Miami, I still hold myself to it. That Monterrey game happened, whatever happened in Monterrey. I don't know if Noah Allen and Tata Martino said we're going to smoke shrooms before the game. And if Diego Gomez said, I want to take a weed pen. I don't know what happened before that
and
game.
Then we're going to rip up the field like an hour before.
We're just going to rip this sucker up, dude. And Tata said, listen, I'm not going to make any subs because I hate everybody on the bench. I don't know what happened. And Drake Callender said, listen, I'm just going to Brandon Vasquez and me are best friends, so I'm going to let this go by me. Whatever happened. I still believe that Inter Miami can compete with teams outside of the MLS. So for that reason, I feel like they can be able to translate and continue what they've done. It's been a great season. You guys are obviously making the playoffs. If I'm not wrong, you guys are leading the Eastern Conference still, if I'm not incorrect.
Yeah, I mean, they're in Supporter Sheild Race, so.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, so listen, scrum it up, get that first seed. I think it's something for y'all to finish off. Like I said, be careful. Columbus Crew, they're a sneaky team. Obviously, I don't think they're going to lose many games at the end of the season, but neither will y'all. So,
it's crazy too. I'm looking at the goal differential. Columbus Crew and Inter Miami are racking up the goal differential. Yeah. Miami has 22 plus goal differential, and then Columbus Crew has 24. The next below that is Cincinnati with 12. So, there's about half. And also another reason why I hate this expanded playoff format, you have a DC United and Toronto FC with a minus 13 goal differential and a minus.
They're bad teams. They should not be.
Why are we letting these teams in the playoffs? They're 10-3 and 15. You have 15 losses. You shouldn't be in the playoffs. Absolutely asinine.
8 and 12
blows my mind.
So bad. Yeah, it's
asinine. But that's a discussion for another day.
Indeed.
But I will say in this Supporter Shield race, it seems like all these teams are going to make CONCACAF Champions Cup, which excites me because these are all teams I expect to also be very good next year. So the only one that could potentially drop off, but I don't really see them, is Cincinnati. But we'll see. But LA Galaxy is going to be really fun to watch in the CCC. Columbus Crew, as always, is going to be really fun to watch. Unless Cucho leaves, then they might have a drop off, but it doesn't seem like he's going to leave. He's going to at least play up to the summer of next year. That's what it seems. Who knows what's going to happen in the winter? But then you're getting LAFC back in there. So it's going to be some pretty competitive teams in the Champions Cup. So really interested to see that versus last year, man, the teams that made the Champions Cup were just ass. How did New England get in there? Who let you guys in? I don't understand. Then again, they beat Alajuelense 7-0. So who knows? That was random. But yeah, guys, I think we can call it a show there. It was a great discussion. We talked a lot of international, and then we want to end off on the MLS Supporter Sheild Race. And I think as we get closer to the playoffs and towards the end of the season, we're going to start talking some more MLS. And then obviously Champions League is starting next week. So who's excited for that? I'm super pumped to see this new format in action. So if you guys want to check out the next episode, please feel free to like this podcast episode and then subscribe so you can get notified about the next ones that come up and get our thoughts on what we think of what happened. So yeah, guys, any final thoughts?
Adam, you got anything?
Got anything?
Not really. Just one more shout out to San Marino.
San Marino. That was going to be my final. I can't even lie. Listen, man, congrats to y'all. I have never seen y'all since I've been alive ever win a game, but y'all did it. Proud of y'all, man. Keep it up. Obviously, dude, this is crazy to think about. They can make League C. I think if they get a draw their next game or some shit, because it's only 3 teams per group.
Who'd they beat?
Malta, right? If I'm not wrong.
Malta.
I believe so.
San Marino is Liechtenstein.
Liechtenstein.
That's what it was.
Classic.
Didn't even need to look that up. I did not know you guys were asking about that. I just saw
dude. You know what's crazy is League. I'm just looking at the League D is like all these like micro countries where just
that's what I'm saying. It's the greatest decision ever made by UEFA.
It's all these micro countries of San Marino, Gibraltar, Liechtenstein, Moldova, Malta, and Andorra. Like, God, that's fucking awesome.
It is incredible, man. Winner gets to go to sea.
Yeah, that's right. Right. But yeah, Champions League going. Excited to see our guys start next week. Now I was just going to wrap it up real quick. Excited. Little transfer news. Hopefully, Pumita Luis Rodriguez. I sent to you, Julian. I dropped to both of you guys, Julian, Adam. Y'all saw it. The rumors going around. He might be going to Club Leon in Mexico, which I wanted to take a bottle, a hammer, a flamethrower, and just throw it at dude. I just wanted to jump out the building. I don't know what is going on. It looks like that decision's not final, so we'll continue with hopefully both of them, him and Cesar Blackman, in the UEFA Champions League. I know you still got your boy. Adam's got a bunch of his boys there, so excited for it, and we're ready. We're ready for Champions League.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think that's a wrap. I want to thank everybody for listening once again, and yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.